Mama, ich habe dir gesagt, dass ich eine kleine Überraschung für dich habe. Aber 现在一件很紧张，因为今年的夏天我学了中文，所以我想惊喜你。
This is the story of how I learned Chinese and surprised my mother. And it all started 50 years ago. My mother grew up in Shanghai, China, and when she was 18, she went to college in the US, where she met my German dad. After getting married, they moved to Germany and had me and my siblings, but they're not that important for this story. I was born in Munich and lived in Germany for the first 18 years of my life. At home, we spoke German 90% of the time, and the other 9.9% of the time we spoke English, and about 0.1% of the time we spoke Chinese. And by we spoke Chinese, I only mean my mother. I just listened and could maybe say a couple of words, but that was it. My mother did try to teach me and my siblings Chinese as we grew up, but since everyone around us spoke German, it was extremely difficult to switch languages all the time. When I became a teenager, she did send me to Mandarin classes, but since I never used Mandarin with my friends or in real life situations, I could only have limited small talk with my mom and understand a very few basic words. When I turned 18 and finished high school, I moved to the US for college, just like my parents. And for the first time, I felt like something was missing in my life. I felt like I had lost the connection to my mother. So that's when I had the idea I would learn Chinese and surprise my mom. But there are two major problems to this. Number one, I only had 1 month before summer ended and I'd fly back to Germany to see her. Number two is Chinese is famously one of the hardest languages on planet Earth. Unlike alphabetic languages, Chinese uses thousands of logograms which represent entire concepts. And for example, to read a Chinese newspaper, you'd need to have memorized around 3,000 characters. I just knew I had no chance. So how could I possibly learn Chinese in only 30 days? I created this plan to learn Chinese. Number one, compromise. My goal was to learn only conversational Chinese. This meant focusing solely on listening and speaking, and I wasn't about to learn reading and writing at all. So I would use what is called Peiying, a romanized version of Chinese pronunciation, and skip the written characters entirely. Number two, full immersion. I only watched videos in Mandarin, I only listened to music in Mandarin, I only hung out with my Chinese friends, I even tried to think in Chinese. Number three is my secret weapon for learning languages fast, flashcards. Fun fact, there are well over 300,000 words in Chinese, but 80% of spoken Chinese is made up just by 1,000 words. So if I'd learned these 1,000 words, I could practically have a very good understanding of spoken language. And with this plan, I actually spent $0 to learn Chinese. I didn't hire private teachers or take any form of paid classes. I solely used the internet. I just Googled the 1,000 most commonly words in Chinese, wrote them on flashcards, studied them, and practiced them with my friends. Luckily enough, I had 1 or 2 Chinese friends and I just followed them around. I told them I was trying to learn Chinese and I only tried to speak Chinese with them. I told them, yes, please speak Chinese and I will try to speak Chinese with you.
Fried rice, 对不对 ？Fried rice， 担担面和米饭，麻婆豆腐，Big Bang。我的中文好不好？非常好，非常好。
But of course, my Chinese friends couldn't spend all day with me, so when I was alone, I'd record videos of myself talking Chinese, rewatch them, and compare my pronunciation to native speakers.
大家好，现在我给你看一看我的房间。好，这个是我的鸡肉。现在的天气有很多云，所以不行。是我的钥匙跟我的香刀，也有很多的名字在我的东西。
Learning Chinese is an emotional roller coaster. One minute I felt like I'm making great progress, and the next I felt like learning Chinese is straight up impossible. But what kept me going was my mindset, specifically my reason for learning Chinese. That is because I wanted to make my mother proud of me. Every single minute of those 30 days, I visualized how I would surprise her. I imagined every detail, what I'd wear, the room we'd be in, the exact words I'd say, and this visualization fueled the fire inside me. And not just this flame, but a serious, raging firestorm. Only the thought of making my mother proud made me invincible. In school, I was always that kid that couldn't focus, who needed constant breaks, who could barely sit still for more than 5 minutes. But this time it was very different. This time I had a blazing fury of motivation and I was more focused than I've ever been in my entire life. Unfortunately, I didn't film much studying because I didn't plan on making a YouTube video. I really solely only wanted to surprise my mom. I can vividly remember how days after days, I just sat on my desk 12 hours a day straight without taking a single break. I would just study the hell out of Chinese, all for my one reason, to make my mother proud.
So. Okay, Mama, ich habe dir gesagt, dass ich eine kleine Überraschung für dich habe. 我忘了，我们说中文。
我们说中文，
我们说中文。
好。
我现在一件紧张，因为今年的夏天我学了中文，所以我想惊喜你，所以
OK，
可以说。
我们可以说中文。
现在我明白以前的中文单词。
OK。
我跟我的朋友们说话和看电影、看视频、看很多的东西、听音乐。我现在练习我的中文。好，不错，
很好，你的中文很好。
谢谢，我们可以复习我的中文。
可以，每天学一点。
学一点，对，
好玩。你的中文还可以跟我对话，不错。
可以。
It's extremely difficult to impress a Chinese mom, but still, especially after I stopped recording, my mom really told me how proud she was of me. In terms of language level, I consider myself as a B1. That means I'm a intermediate speaker. I can handle familiar matters. It's basically one step past just small talk.
Right now I'm working on a new challenge, and that is learning Spanish. Don't want to miss it. Subscribe.